Over 500 people were arrested at the weekend for protesting at the prescription of Palestine Action. They held signs saying, "I oppose genocide, I support Palestine Action." To prevent police stations being overwhelmed with the protesters, the Met implemented a street bail system, which has been used before at big environmental protests. But Scotland Yard told The Times they faced, quote, entirely unrealistic challenges in policing the protest. Well, Tim Crosland is co-founder of Defend Our Juries. He helped to organise the protest over this weekend. And you might remember we chatted to him on Wednesday's show before that event took place. So let's get his assessment now on how it went. Good morning.
Hi again, Kate. Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. So what is your assessment of what happened over the weekend? How well it went from your point of view?
I think it was a hugely powerful moment. I'd say it was the moment Britain really came out and showed its moral backbone in the face of our government's support for genocide in Gaza. Just so many hundreds of people, nurses, teachers, people from all walks of life risking serious consequences for themselves to come out and stand against the horrific things that are happening. It's immensely powerful. And we said, this is going to be too much for the police, because the police know it's wrong, hauling people into police vans for sitting peacefully, quietly, with cardboard signs expressing positions of conscience. And I think that's what we've seen on the front page of the Times this morning. The Met saying totally unrealistic what the government's asking them to do here.
Well, they were saying that it was unrealistic to be able to police the protests. They were talking about a specific context, which was that people were given a dispersion order as part of their arrest, which was that if they had been arrested and given street bail, they were asked to leave the area. But there were reports that people had gone back into the protests, and what the police were saying was that it was unrealistic for them to be able to remove people once again, because there were so many people that they were trying to arrest at the scene. One of the founders, I'm interested in what this protest was designed to do, because one of the co-founders of Palestine Action said the goal was, quote, to overwhelm the police. But wasn't this supposed to be about Gaza?
I don't agree the goal is to overwhelm the police.
Well, that's what one of the co-founders said of this group.
Well, but this isn't organised by Palestine Action. This is organised by Defend Our Juries. So people can say all kinds of things, but that is not the goal of the protest. The goal of this action is to expose the government's hypocrisy over what's happening in Gaza. It's telling the British public it's appalled by the scenes, because it knows the British public is appalled by what we're seeing, and people being shot as they queue for food. And this morning, an Al Jazeera journalist deliberately shot by the Israeli Defense Force for revealing what's happening. But at the same time as those crocodile tears, we know the government's continuing to supply weapons to the Israeli government. We know that every day the RAF is conducting reconnaissance flights in support of the Israeli military.
Well, we don't know the details of that, because specifically the government has not talked about intelligence sharing. And when it comes to weapons, licenses have been suspended. The government can't do anything about the parts for F-35s because they go via manufacturers in America. And they have said that Israel does have the right to defend itself in the face of what happened on October the 7th. So there is some debate about some of the things that you raised there. But I suppose the fundamental point is, if people are concerned about Gaza, why does Palestine Action need to come into it at all? You are not Palestine Action. People do not need to have a protest banner that says that. So why bring them into it at all? What's the point?
Well, because these two things are inextricably linked. So if you remember what sparks the ban on Palestine Action, it is the spray painting of RAF planes red at Brize Norton. And what that does is it prompts a lot of debate, a lot of scrutiny, and it exposes the role of the RAF in supporting the Israeli military. So what the ban is really being designed to do is cover up Britain's crimes.
Well, that's not right, is it? Because the Home Secretary has said very clearly, and you are on a national radio station talking about what you think the government is doing wrong in this context. So there is absolutely no restriction on you highlighting export licenses or any role that the UK government plays in intelligence sharing with Israel. There's no ban on that. It's not linked to Palestine Action. You can 100% do that without causing criminal damage, or, as the government suggests, causing people to be very afraid or concerned for their own lives.
But it's really quite a simple point. There is a moral and legal obligation to take steps to prevent a genocide. And that comes into focus with the International Court of Justice ruling in January last year that there is a real danger of the Palestinian people's rights under the Genocide Convention being violated, and that immediate steps need to be taken.
But there is no reason
if the British government is not taking those
there's no reason for you to use the banner of Palestine Action to make that point. Some people say the only reason you are doing that is to make a point about freedom of speech, which actually is not about Gaza at all.
Well, but the connection is Palestine Action have been having to do what they do because the government is violating international law. In other words, if the government effectively stopped the export of military equipment to Israel,
but
the genocide.
But it has done that. It has suspended export licenses.
But we know.
Hang on. It has suspended export licenses. As I have said, it is impossible to stop the export of parts for F-35 fighter jets because they go via manufacturers in America, and America does not want to stop exporting weapons to Israel. That's an international issue. That's not something the UK can do anything about. And Israel does, the government says, have the right to defend itself.
Well, that is your take on it, Kate.
It's not my take. That's the government's take. It's not my take at all.
I think many people have seen the government's position as a sort of have its cake and eat it, where it's banned some licenses or stopped some licenses, but as allowing others to remain. And we don't see the same position taken for Russia, for example. How would you feel if the government were exporting F-35 parts to Russia? I think your position, quite rightly, would be that's just not good enough to say that.
I think the context is. Are you saying the context is the same?
Wars of aggression, violating international law, no excuses. Don't support them. Don't export military parts that support violations of international law.
Does Israel have the right to defend itself?
It does not have the right to commit genocide.
No, that's a different. That's not the question I asked you, and everybody understands that that's true. Does Israel have the right to defend itself? All
people have the right to defend themselves against aggression and violence.
Okay. Just finally, what has actually changed as a result? I mean, I understand that you're saying that you will organise another one of these events. Will you be attending that one? You didn't attend the one at the weekend. Will you attend the next one? And what has actually changed as a result of this action?
I think what's changed is there's a growing sense that the government's position is totally insupportable. And the British public won't stand for it. They won't stand being lied to by a government that's claiming to be as shocked and appalled as the rest of us are about what's happening, while we can see with our own eyes it's continuing to back the Israeli government. And I think that position is not sustainable. I think the growing masses of people coming out and risking so much just tells you how strongly people feel about this.
Okay, and
how ashamed they are of our government's
action.
Will
you be at the next one, and how many people do you think will attend?
I will be at the next one. I will be at the next one. There were reasons I couldn't be at this one, but I'm looking forward to being at the next one. It will be on a different scale. Already we've had hundreds and hundreds of people saying that they want to be arrested for terrorism because they see it as a badge of honor, as resistance to genocide. It's going to be much, much bigger.
Do you see that as a badge of honor, being arrested for terrorism?
In this context, yes, I do. I would not be able to look myself in the mirror if I thought I'd done nothing if I thought I was a bystander to genocide. I couldn't accept that.
Tim Crosland, the co-founder of Defend Our Juries, who helped to organise the protest at the weekend. Thank you for your time on the programme.
Thank you, Kate.
Lots of reaction to that. 033-003-2353. A hugely powerful moment, said he. What actually changed in reality is a question that was posed back to him. Now, amid the soaring cost of rent in the UK,